welcome to episode 3 of the first season of the FeVR Dreams podcast. I'm your host, Corbin78, and my co-host, Cypher Ryan, is next to me. And we have a special guest today, which is Njna. Hello, Njna. Welcome.
Hi.
So this is a live recording. You can chime into our FeVR Dreams podcast channel on Discord. So it's discord.gg/FeVR, where you can join and listen to this live, as well as put your questions and comments into the podcast chat channel if you like to. And we have again nice things to discuss about all things VR. And how about we start about a little bit what you've been playing lately? That's not on the list. Ha! Surprise. So, Njna, what have you been playing lately?
Well, I usually play Synth Riders and Beat Saber, but I had been playing Carnage Chronicles.
Carnage Chronicles?
It's like a VR RPG game. But you can play multiplayer, so you can play with up to 4 people, and you can actually hurt each other because you have a bow and sword and stuff. So when you're fighting the monsters and you're swinging your sword around or shooting your bow, you can hit your other party members.
That's great.
Like when you're in the middle of combat, it's like total chaos because people are swinging their swords around, like you do in VR all the time when you're trying to hit monsters. But like if your other teammates are standing there, you have to like swing really careful and not like hit your sword to hit them because it like damages your partners, your friends. But yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, even single player, it's really good too. So.
Yeah, I've just seen people playing Skyrim in VR, and it's not like you imagine that if you are swinging your sword with wide swings and holding your shield in front of you. No, it's like pointing your arm outside in front and then trying to hit that enemy. And
the velocity of the sword that matters.
Okay. So that sounds a little bit like that. So you have to be careful a little bit where you hit and how to hit. It's not like you imagine that in real life, but okay. Well, that sounds fun.
The game is really nice because the graphics are like, it's really a fantasy style of art to it. So, and it's really moody. So it's not like pixel. It's not really a polygony. It's very it looks like more you're in like a fantasy painting the majority of the time, which is really nice. And the water's got a really fluid look to it. And when you get up close to the monsters, it looks like the actual orcs and stuff in the game actually look like World of Warcraft CGI orcs, like when they would do the movies and stuff. They're like that level of detail when they're up close to you, because they will walk up and there's some of the NPCs will walk up and talk to you, and like the whole time when I'm talking to them, I'm always like, wow, you're like really detailed, and like I'm streaming, I'm like, wow, look at the detail. And I'm sure everyone's thinking it's like, will you just watch the story? It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, look at the detail on this backpack. It's like got buckles on it.
I can see the pores.
I know exactly.
That reminds me a little bit of Russell in Half-Life Alyx when you try to poke him. Do they react to that? Do the orcs react? Leave me alone. Why are you picking my nose? What are you doing there?
I'm not that guy. Like what's in World of Warcraft? Like I'm not that kind of orc.
Cool.
Not that kind of orc.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah. But
okay. How about Cypher? What have you been playing in VR and maybe other stuff as well?
Well, see, my usual has been Beat Saber, a little bit of Synth Riders. Recently, I've been playing a lot of A Township Tale. That one's free if you have VR on PC, and it's like the really short description of it is difficult, but the easiest way would be kind of like Minecraft in that you collect stuff and craft things, except the things that you can craft and the way that you craft them is so much more involved than just, open menu, click button, get thing. Like, let's say you want to make a wooden staff. Well, you have to load up like 6 logs and then sit there and chisel them out for 10 minutes, and then you get your staff. Or like you run out and you attack enemies with your custom created weapon, which has like an axe blade on it, and then some kind of weird hooky thing on the bottom of it, and like it's very freeform, very fun. So I've been getting that party together with some of FeVR and the FeVR Town channel, and then also a little bit of Elite Dangerous too. I've got
Elite is great in VR, isn't it?
Pair of flight sticks, pair of these bad boys.
What are those?
6000 Ms.
Okay. I have Thrustmaster as well for Elite Dangerous. And when I have not played that for a while, I totally have to relearn the controls. That's something you get totally lost in VR. And if you don't have any loadout saved or where you bound the keys, especially I have the T-Flight, the Hotas T-Flight X from Thrustmaster, and there I have double settings on some keys. So I have a modifier key somewhere, and then I can press the buttons again and have different actions. And yeah, that's a little bit tricky if you can't remember, what does this do? And when I press this, what does that do then? And etc. So I have to totally relearn that
panic
again.
Situations. It's like, I'm being attacked, and now it's like Shift Alt Trigger button 3. It's like,
I'm dead no.
I just want to change targets. But yeah, the Elite Dangerous has actually been a little bit more game than I really want right now. I'm really, really excited about Squadrons coming out. What's that, a few days? Yeah, a few days
it's coming, it's coming.
Ooh, so excited.
I hope it doesn't have any easy anti-cheat thing installed, and they claim it's DirectX 11, so I have high hopes it works for me as well. And chances are hopefully good, because I'm excited for Squadrons as well. So Flight Sims is something, that's one of those games you can actually play very well seated, probably better than room scale.
I'll be tearing the driver's seat out of my old car, which is no longer running, so that I have a nice
immersion. Nice.
No,
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to getting back to Until You Fall. I have too small of a space right now to play it, but Until You Fall, so good.
I haven't played that yet.
I went from playing Synth Riders and Beat Saber and stuff, and I felt, I'm in shape. I can do this. And I went and played Until You Fall, and like the next day, I literally could not move my shoulders and my right arm from swinging that sword because it's such a different muscle movement.
Yeah.
I woke up the next morning, I'm like, oh my God, I can't lift my arms. I could get my arms to about here, and I couldn't lift them above my shoulders. I'm like, wow.
C-3PO shoulder.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, it was like really fun game though.
Yeah, I totally realized that when I was playing. In the meantime, when I do the VR rhythm games, it's like I play all those 3 or 4 games that are there and working for me. That's starting with Beat Saber, switching to Synth Riders because it's a little bit different muscle movement that you have there, and then going to Pistol Whip. And
Pistol Whip for the legs.
Yeah, and yesterday or last time I also inserted O-Shape. And oh gosh, that one is much more a workout again that I totally forgot about.
O-Shape seems to be as much a mental workout as it is a physical workout too, because you're trying to read 4 or 5 panels back depending on how difficult the map is that you're playing. And it turns into this mess of things just flying at you, like just trying flailing your arms all over the place.
Sight reading O-Shape is much more difficult than sight reading Beat Saber or Synth Riders.
O-Shape. There must be some calibration thing. I just loaded the game up and I loaded up, logged in, and I go and the first wall's coming at me, and it's the height of a 4-year-old. And I'm like, this seems really unfair. And I'm like trying to get into the thing, like I'm on stream. I'm trying to get and the holes are all like the size of 4-year-olds. Like the head height is about here. I'm not sure what went wrong in the calibration. So I'm like looking like an idiot trying to get through these stupid holes. And someone in chat's like, it's not supposed to be like that. I'm like, this seems really hard. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's a workout for the legs as well, right? And especially if you're when you're playing on the height of a 4-year-old. Yeah, nice one. Yeah. Yeah, and talking about those games have recently gotten some updates and some announcements there. So, for example, Synth Riders got updated. Oh, they had some issues with the Twitch integration at the beginning after the last update, so the queue wasn't working, but that's got fixed, which is cool. Good. So if you have a cool community, and one guy is helping you out with the queue and maintaining the queue for you, that was awesome. But it's much more helpful if the in-game queue is working. So
does it save the queue now between restarts?
It does save, yes, it does.
Oh, awesome.
They added a ton of other new features too. They added you can real-time pause now. So when you're actually it's one hard things with Synth Riders was when you were streaming, if you wanted to talk to someone, you had to have that 3-second pause. And so you always had to find a spot to pause because it's like a lot of times you're in the middle of a complex pattern or something. You just can't hold down for 3 seconds and hope you stop in the right spot because you end up. But now you can set the delay on the pause. You can put it down to 0 and up to like 5 or 6 seconds, I think.
You can adjust that now. Okay, that's cool.
Yep. they added a whole new section of advanced graphics now. So when you go into the graphics settings, you can set like the MSAA, you can set the anti-aliasing rate, all that kind of stuff. So you can turn all that stuff down if you want for better performance, or turn it up if you wanted something pretty. Yeah, they added a bunch of new features.
Cool.
There's a lot of stuff in the menus. If you go dig through the menus.
I've seen that they updated also the custom camera, where you can now, because that's something that I will benefit from. You can before you can like move your the camera where you want to, but it's always moving with your head. So if you're looking around, the camera is following, and now you can lock the axis, so it won't like turn, I think, up and down, left and right. But there's one axis missing, the Z-axis. So if you turn your head like this, it's still moving. And I need to reach out to Avon if it's possible to lock that one as well. And then it's a perfectly free, configurable third-person cam. So that's something I'm looking forward to if that works. Then I can adjust the thing as I'm not able to use Liv, and then I can adjust that camera there. At the moment, I'm using the third-person camera, and I was adjusting my camera image and try to fit it where the spheres in your controllers are, and that's working pretty well already. But having that more on spot, that's a little bit better then. So yeah, so much for Synth Riders. Also, Pistol Whip announced a big update. Did you see that? The update 2089. Did you see that? There's a video on YouTube.
I missed it.
There's a video on YouTube. I will post that in the podcast channel. And that's showing some pretty nice futuristic stuff where you are like in the Terminator world, in the future world, and robots are dropping from spaceships, and the atmosphere is much more cyberpunkish-esque, something like that.
See some of the making guns like are the guns like plasma guns? They shoot like laser bolts now instead of like that'd be super awesome in that game. Like be able to see the laser bolts.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen that in that video, but
I'm surprised I haven't added like a slow-mo mode to Pistol Whip yet.
Yeah.
Where you do
wall of guys show up, you can be like
Matrix style,
kind of like that. But like when you're shooting, it's always really fast. So you've slowed down even more. So you're just like. You just really slow throwing your hands up
Neo now
firing. Yeah,
it'd be funny watching streams of people doing that because damn well as soon as it slowed down, everyone else they would slow down too because that's just people's natural. And then so then everybody starts going, "I've got this," even though they can move at full speed. Yeah, exactly.
They have a Discord. You can also see their roadmap. Pistolwhip.gg if you want to join their Discord. They have a hashtag PW-roadmap channel, and maybe that's a feature request for them. The slow motion thing. So maybe that's an idea.
I haven't done it yet.
Mr. Tripp said bullet time would be awesome for Pistol Whip. Indeed. Yeah, I'm looking forward to play more Pistol Whip. They are lacking a third-person camera yet, so I need to reach out to them and ask about that again. How much have you played Pistol Whip so far? Njna?
I usually play it when I play. I usually play through all the maps once just to see the new maps. But when I actually play it to exercise, I always play in what's it called? I don't shoot mode. The idea is I try and make it through the map without. I try and make it through the map without shooting. I mean, that's actually where I find the real exercise in that game, because especially at like even at easy level, that's challenging. At normal level, I think I've made it through one map at normal level with that. But it's basically it's a matter of I figured because they always aim at your head, and so the idea is as long as you keep your head moving, you're pretty good until you get into groups of like 10 or 15 guys, and then you have to remember. You sort of have to keep it in your head. You have to remember where you've been in visual space, because if you go back to the same spot, odds are there's bullets going to be coming there for you. Yep. So you have to. The longer group of guys is, the more a 3D memory you have to hold in your head and keep your head moving around, but never go back to the same space you've been. So you end up doing this pattern around the room of moving your head like this in this weird like grid pattern, trying to stay out of it. And so it's good exercise. It's fun.
Yeah, circle strafing with your head works.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, also up and down. If you do it up and down, not only front and back, yeah, and then you can get very weird patterns. So it would be nice to have a recording of how you have moved your head after the map and see an overlay. Okay, that's the crazy movement there.
So were
you
you
like this? You like a 3D figure eight?
Yeah.
Secret hacks to Pistol Whipper's square dancing?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. How much have you played Pistol Whip, Cypher?
I have. I can give you an actual number. Actually,
yeah. Okay. I didn't look at my numbers yet, but I enjoy at least the most of the OST. I mean, there is only OST so far.
Hours. I've played 20 hours of it. And I actually haven't played the newer maps like the Heartbreaker set. I haven't had a chance to play that yet. Just being in my reduced play space has thrown me off. Not that I don't have enough room to play Pistol Whip, but the amount that I like to move when I'm playing Pistol Whip, I don't have that space anymore.
Oh, that's a pity. Yeah, well, I have the space a little bit, and when I was trying to evade those shots and I'm going too far to the outside, the game stops and says, get back to the play space. And say, hello, I have the space. Let me evade on that side that I want. No. You're only allowed to evade.
I've been able to walk like all the way over because sometimes, in those long hallways where the guys are sort of back in the notches.
Mm-hmm.
In mine, I can walk all over those, smack those guys in the head with a gun, then run over to the other one and smack the guy in the head with the other gun on both sides of the hallway. I've never had it tell me outside my play space.
That's weird.
Because my play space is like 3.2 meters wide or something like that. I've been able to use the whole width of it. Not the front and back, it stops me. It won't let me move too far forward or too far back, but side to side, it lets me move a long ways.
Maybe they've changed that since, because after High Octane came out, I think that was the last new map that I played. But that really crazy dodge section where it's like left, right, left, like you just kind of have to like throw your head to the sides. There's a gap on the left side where if you want to get past everything, you can stick your head just outside the play space. It'll pause, and then you resume, and you can just continue straight past it. I'm so sick of that stupid section.
It's like for cheating at exercise games.
Well, I mean, the dodge wall section was.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seemed to have predominantly negative feedback for that particular section of the map. Like the rest of it was fine, but just how fast you had to throw your head to the side in your VR headset in order to get past those walls was just a little much.
I mean, also, VR games, I guess, that I move around my room that caused me the most problems is Audio Trip. I love playing that game, but it's like because of the way you have to like sway your body, because in that game, instead of like in Synth Riders, your head is what matters. As long as your head doesn't go through the walls, you're fine. In Audio Trip, your hands and your head matter. So if you're going around obstacles, like, just with your hands up here and your hands hit the wall, that counts as a hit on the wall. And so you have to keep your hands tight to your body a lot of times when you're going through things. And I find myself like slowly moving forward in my room. I've punched my dresser and my fan on my floor more times than I can count in that game. I'm not sure why but that game always moves me around my room.
That's a good time. If we can inject a topic here, just hitting things when you're in VR by accident. I think.
Oh dear, yes. There is a game which is very cool because who doesn't want to look in a mirror in VR and say, "I am Batman." There's Batman Arkham VR, and in Batman Arkham VR, you can throw batarangs. And when I did that, I smacked my ceiling lights. And now I have new ones.
Now I have new ones.
I mean, I hit them once and everything was fine. They have those small cylinders made out of these milky glass. So you get a diffuse lighting. That was totally looking fine. And I hit that thing once and it didn't break. It was all good. And then, okay, I have to be careful the next time I do that. But in VR, you totally lose track where you are in the room. And I thought, okay, the lights are probably over there. Then I can throw that batarang there. Bang. And then you could hear the glass shattering all over the floor.
Oh, this is so realistic. Uh-oh.
It's like, okay, there's glass everywhere. I have no idea where it is. I'm not going to cut my feet up.
Time to take that.
Oh, yeah. So that's That's the thing I destroyed while playing in VR. I am happy that I did not smack my TV too hard yet, because we have one of those 60-inch TVs attached to the wall, and there is where my green screen is also attached to. So I pin it with a clamp on the edge of the TV.
That seems dangerous.
No, that's totally fine. That's so far it's so good. And with Steam VR, you could do the measurement of your room, and then you get this grid when you are too close. But there is this 6 lanes map of gas, or is it 10 lanes? It's 10 lanes, I think. 10-lane map of gas in Beat Saber. And when I am playing that, I have to go to the side where, of course, the TV is. And then I'm standing still in the play space, but I'm trying to just reach with the sabers out there. So the sabers are long enough to reach out to the blocks that are there, but I cannot move there. And I have really to be careful that I don't smack my TV while doing the thing with smacking the balls, the blocks there. So the TV is still fine. But the ceiling lighting got replaced.
The 360 update came out, and I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. And I'm in this tiny little play space. The first map that went around 360, my hand came up and I whacked my desk. Oh, that hurt. And then just yesterday, because of the frame rate when you're running Live with a township tail, like the game itself is already very demanding. And it basically taps out, your GPU trying to process all those physics at the same time while it's trying to predict everything. And so I couldn't really do their climbing update. So yesterday I dropped all of the mixed reality stuff and only had it running in Oculus mode, which makes for a fantastic frame rate and allows me to actually learn how to climb and throw myself around and things like that. But this challenge tower that they have put together in order to gain the climbing ability permanently requires you to turn around while you're throwing yourself a lot. So I'm sitting there with my hands in front of my face, just barely pushing off, and then my hands are like flinging behind myself, trying to like gain my balance, and I have a huge scuff mark on my TV now. It's about 4 inches long. Yeah, the TV's not damaged; it's just surface damage, but still, this TV is in such danger constantly.
I had when I was doing it. There's that game. It's called like Sword and something. What's the one where you have like the ragdoll people you fight with a sword, and you can pick which weapons you want, and there's like pole arms and stuff like that. It's called Swords and Sorcery or Swords and something. Anyway, I can't remember any of it.
Blade and Sorcery?
Blade and Sorcery, that's it, yeah.
Ah, okay, because Sorcery is an indie game, 2D, right?
Yeah. Blade and Sorcery, and one of the things in the game is like, so you can have a shield and sort of, and there's a lot of shields have spikes in them, so you can actually, buckler people and like kill them. So I'm sitting fighting. It's like probably a month after I got VR. It's like one of the very first games I started playing. And in my room, I have one of those closets that have the big panels that slide. So it's like the 2 panels, one is mirrored and one's not. So I just have to keep the mirrored one behind the other one so that I have lighthouses so they don't bounce off the mirror. And so I'm sitting playing that game, and there's a guy a little bit across the room from me. And so I take about a step like a meter in front of me, and I've got the buckler on one hand. I go like this with the buckler, and I go to take the sword and like stab the sword through his head like that. I punched the closet door full on with my index controller, because the index controller's got that blade thing. My closet door still has the dent in it from the, what's it called? You can see there's a slot in my closet door like this, where it went through like the particle board. And when I went to pull back, the closet door was stuck on it. It actually went through it a little bit and like stuck on it. I have a recording of it where I punched it, and you see my fist like stuck in air, like I can't pull my arm back because it's stuck in the wall. And like I was so lucky it didn't, because it went through and it pushed it went through the cardboard stuff, but didn't break the mirror. The mirror wall was behind it. I was so lucky it didn't shatter the whole mirrored door, because that was right behind that one. Ooh. But yeah, that's the worst thing I've done, punching stuff. That really hurt too. I think about my fist hurt for days.
Oh, VR physical injury horror story.
Yeah.
I remember when playing Superhot VR. That I was playing still with the HTC Vive and the Vive Vans, and I luckily I had special rubber protections for the Vive Vans, but they are a little bit, the Vive Vans, if you have them in your hands, they're not too clunky, but they fill out your hand pretty well. But if you put one of those rubber bands on them, they are a little bit more clunky. But still, it for the protection because I expected totally to punch stuff. And I was lucky to have those rubber band protections when playing Superhot VR, because in Superhot VR, sometimes you can smack the guys as well. And if they are in range, but not too close in range, then you are doing the step forward and try to punch them. And my ward was there. And I was so lucky to have those rubber band protections. Otherwise, I would have totally broken one of those Vive band controllers.
Welcome to virtual reality. Yeah, the walls still exist.
Yeah, the controller maybe not. No, it was all safe. So yeah. So that's for the excursus, the injected topic, smacking stuff in VR. Or do we have more stories?
Nelly says the worst thing they've done is lean on a VR table to get up and fall on your ass because it wasn't really there.
Oh,
just the other week I was in VR chat. I was sitting there and I had a glass of soda in my hand. I'm like sitting there drinking it, and you get so into it sometimes. I'm sitting in VR chat and I'm sitting on a chair in VR chat. So like a chair and chair, and I'm sitting in my real chair, office chair. And to the left of me in VR chat is a table. In real world, there's no table there. And so I'm sitting there drinking my beverage and whatever. I'm talking to my friends or whatever. And for some reason, out of the corner of my eye, I see, the table. I go to put the beverage on the table and let go of it. And all I hear is, boom. I'm like, what? And I realized, I'm like, oh my God, there's no, and I hear a glunk, 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 glunk all over the floor next to me. I'm like, oh God.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So. Immersion too real.
Yeah, it's too real sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, so much about that. Back to the gaming news, maybe. We have still 1 point on the bullet point list, which is 2 even. Beat Saber. Also,
Beat Saber multiplayer.
Did announce an update, multiplayer coming.
Finally, it's
get the tweet was get your avatars ready, right? I think that was the tweet.
Wonderful.
And does that mean they will have in-game avatars from Beat Saber themselves, like they have in Synth Riders?
They're showing them. They look like they sort of look like amiibos.
It's the Facebook. It's the Facebook avatars,
like the Oculus ones. Like they got like the little body with a floating head type of thing.
I haven't seen those yet, or at least I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay. What I've read is up to 5 people can play in the lobby. Is that correct? So that was I've seen on Twitter. So
what if it's got like a matchmaker? I didn't actually read it too close to have a matchmaker and everything. So to like group people, or do you have to is it with friends?
I don't know yet. So I mean,
friends to begin with, I would imagine, considering how long it's taken.
It'd be nice to have a group, what's it called, a group finder with that skill level, so it could see because they could see how well you do, and you group people up similarly, sort of like most other multiplayer games have. It'd be nice.
Yeah, from the Beat Saber World Champion thing, I've seen then when they did. I think that was done via multiplayer. No, it wasn't. That's not true. People were playing at the same time, but they had the settings to no fail, and then the highest scores there counted, because then everybody more or less has the same set, and you cannot fail, so you will have to play the song. And even though that modifier reduces your score a lot, it's still comparable to all the other players if everybody is playing on no fail. And getting people on the same skill level and having a mechanism where the song is still being played to the end, I think that's really helpful in multiplayer. Especially those rhythm-based games where you have to end the map more or less. Because if one player fails, everybody would have to stop. That's not how it should work, I guess. So that's interesting.
I play with Easy a lot of times, play multiplayer on Saturdays. And he always keeps it on no fail, and so we play that all the time. And then you can pick what I do is I pick whichever difficulty you want on the song. And so even though the song might be really challenging, a lot of songs have like an expert or hard difficulty, and it reduces your score because you're picking the less difficulty because there's less blocks typically. So that's fun. But I know like in multiplayer and Synth Riders, that works really well with the no fail, because even if you aren't hitting all the orbs in Synth Riders, it's still fun to play songs that are above your skill level, because you can still hit 80% of the orbs on some level. And so it's fun in multiplayer there. They've worked out pretty well, I think. Multiplayer on Synthwriters could still use some kind of group finder, though. It'd be nice to have kind of thing that, I'm maybe sure how to do it, that if you were in single player, you'd be like, if somebody was looking for groups, they could something would ping in your single player mode, like up in the corner in your VR headset and say, people are looking for multiplayer or something, just to let people know let all the single player people know that there's people looking to play multiplayer in the game would be really nice. Because right now it's like you have to, every time you want to go, you go look in the multiplayer rooms, you see there's 2 or 3 multiplayer rooms, then you have to go into each room and see how many, who's in there if you want to play with them or whatever. It'd be nice to have some kind of mechanism to let single user players know that there's multiple people looking for a group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would unfortunately, I think, require an official support for something like the Score Saber system.
Yeah, for ranking.
Yeah, just a quick note since we're on news. I do know that they're working on a PP version 3 for the Beat Saber ranking system. Umbernox posted a tweet a few days ago that apparently shows an AI grinding through a map.
I saw that.
Yeah, so that's kind of exciting to see how that evolves. I'm really interested to see how the system actually changes. I might actually be interested in participating in it again.
A ranking system for Synthwriters also, because the API just came out.
Oh yeah.
And Whipstick Stock and some of those guys over there they're building a website for the ranking system, and it's going to have leaderboards and everything like that because the API is released now, so you can actually get access to the leaderboard scores and stuff in offline mode. So they're working on a ranking system for that now, so there'll be world rankings for that eventually here.
Awesome.
Nice.
Now, until they add in any kind of facilities for doing spins in the game, there's no point. And looking
Score
at
writers.
Just kidding. I just love doing spins in Synthwriters.
Spin is much fun, especially the. There's one map that was designed for showcasing the 360 plus mode in Wild. Pablo Escobar, I think, that song, and that's really, really fun. It's it doesn't. I think the 360, especially plus and node intensity or spin intensity Wild, doesn't work for all maps, especially the faster ones, because you cannot turn around fast enough if the spin is too high. But that it's working with all maps, that's pretty exciting. So you don't have to wait for special maps coming out to be in the 360 or spin mode in general. So that's pretty cool. That's an advantage over Beat Saber, I think, where you have to have those 360 maps, except you are using Wobble. Then you can have 360 all the time. But that's something different, I guess.
Me and the spin mode in Synthwriters is in Live. I have my viewfinder, so I can see my camera view from in Live. And it's always somewhere around me. So it's usually behind me, like off to my left or whatever. Well, when spin mode comes up, I come spinning around and there's my viewfinder and it's at like 80% opacity. And so suddenly I get this huge wall of video I can't see through. So I'm trying to watch the orbs come out with like a foot in front of me. I'm like trying to catch them as they come at me, coming through the screen on the thing. Yeah. I always forget to turn the viewfinder off before I do that mode.
Well, I have the same issue with my chat in VR. So on Linux, I'm using XR desktop to get desktop windows in the VR because Live Streamer Kit is not showing for me. And I'm using the Restream chat app because that has inbuilt transparency. So I can have that at like 95% transparency and just the words are not transparent. But still, if the spheres are coming directly from that direction where the chat is, it's a little bit tricky to see them. And then you're like, oh, I have to look around the words and see the holes in the words, and then you can see the spheres properly. So yeah, that's an issue.
My Live Streamer Kit at like 50 to 20% opacity, and it's always stuck right in front of my face. So I'm always just looking straight through chat. Makes it a little bit easier, so you're not getting like blindsided when you're turning around and trying to keep an eye on what's going on.
So it's attached to the orientation of your headset. So if you move around, the chat is still moving with you. Do you mean that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, then I think after a while, your brain can just filter that out. And you can really look through that.
Shifting your primary vision focus past it's interesting that it still works in a VR headset.
Crazy stuff. Right on. There's also some more news. We talked about that on the last cast already because Facebook is doing things in Germany at least. And last time we discussed about them forcing to have Facebook accounts for Oculus users on all on their platform. So even though you're using SteamVR with Oculus, you will have to sign in with Oculus with Facebook. And well, now they looks like no. What was the topic last time we talked about? That was not the topic itself. It was something else.
The Quest
was it
2?
that? Because this time,
the Oculus accounts being required for the Quest 2, or Facebook accounts required for the Quest 2.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the Quest 2. That was the topic. And now because probably of privacy issues, they will completely stop selling Oculus devices in Germany.
Oh.
So for German users, the Facebook topic will vanish over time.
And so will the Oculus Rift.
Probably. Oh yeah, they mentioned they won't do PC focused headsets anymore. They're going fully for the inside-out tracking mobile thing that you can attach to the PC, but there won't be a successor to the Rift S also.
Yeah, I don't see any reason for there to be one either, in my opinion. I mean, the Quest
trackers
is already
maybe
a Rift S. What trackers?
Yeah, the for the Rift S. Is the Rift S also
Rift S
inside out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that would still have
exactly
trackers.
The same thing. It just has a cable that's permanently attached to it.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
it seemed a natural evolution to me, at least, to go, okay, the Quest 2 is going to be the successor to our entire previous line because it's so versatile. Here you go.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but still, I mean, it's a competitor less on the market, at least here, and I wouldn't say that Germany is a small market, so it's a little bit strange that they would prefer to not make that money instead of getting an agreement with the regulations here. So but well, that's what they
German version of it doesn't require the account or something.
I mean, with Facebook,
you'll be able to use it in Germany.
The product.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, well, looks like they would rather not have Germany as a market than dealing with the privacy issues here. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
but that's a bit strange.
I wonder if you're in another country too. Like, what is Facebook up to that they're dropping out of an entire country because of privacy concerns?
I mean, it's not said that that's the reason. It's just maybe an educated guess from the past history, but it's not said that that's the real reason. Maybe they have a different reason.
The interesting thing is that they're willing to drop out of it, that the personal data is that valuable to them that they're willing to give up the sales of the hardware because they can't have the personal data. I mean, that says a lot about the value of that privacy data, how much it's worth to Facebook. I mean, they're willing to lose all those sales on hardware just to say it's like, well, if we can't have the data, it's not worth it to us.
Yeah, well,
it seems to be what it kind of breaks down to, but we're just spitballing.
It is how it is. I mean, we have to see what the future brings and wait for them. Maybe they come up with a different solution.
Yeah,
and
like the Nvidia 3000 series.
Yeah, that's a good segue.
What happened to that?
Yeah, you can't have that either.
No, we can't have nice things in the future because they're sold out before they're even sold.
Oh, I mean, that's really, if you have followed the news there, and if you have followed the specs and all the YouTube videos and presentations, and there has been how's that called? Well, the date where you're not allowed to publish that before the
embargo.
Embargo, indeed. That's what I was looking for. They had an embargo where they were only allowed to show the card first, not to build it in, not to use it, and not to do any testing. So they were only allowed to do the unboxing first. And then I think a week later or 2 weeks later, they were allowed to do the testing and the actual showing the card in action. And I think that embargo was even pushed a little bit behind because they had issues to transport all the cards they were sending out to the influencers and testers, etc. So that took a little bit longer. And to make sure that everybody has the card.
The beginning of card. And it sounds like the beginning of a heist movie. It's like the shipment of the 3080s had finally gone out, like 300,000 cards. It's like we're gonna target them as they go across the bridge. It's like I can totally picture that. It's like some nerd heist movie.
That's why they are all gone. Ah, man,
that'd be awesome.
Bitcoin miners grab them.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Corbin, you can go.
No worries. And after that embargo fell, you were seeing the raw results, and they have been pretty impressive so far, especially from the 3080 already. Not to speak about the 3090. I mean, it depends a little bit, of course. It's all to be taken with a grain of salt, of course. But for that bang for your buck you get with those cards, it's just incredible. Better than the flagship of the previous series. Now you have one of the mid-range cards, and that's already outperforming that by a lot for less than half of the price. Oh my gosh, I want to have one of those cards. But
Nvidia engineers really outdid themselves on this generation.
Incredible. That
Ti is over a year old. Had I bought it like 6 months ago, I'd be really sad.
Yeah. I'm wondering, though, why those cards are still that expensive. If you have a look now, they are still at the more or less same price.
I saw that too.
Because the 3000 series isn't available.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but they will come available eventually again, and then nobody wants to buy those old cards anymore. So if you want to get rid of...
probably drop the price, but...
Yeah, but then nobody buys them anymore. I think. So if you have a pile of stock of those cards and you want to get rid of them now before everybody is going to buy the other cards when they are available again, I would totally drop the price now. So you're
Because I looked at the site here, there's like a tweaker site here that keeps track of like price history. And I figured the 2080 Ti, you'd see a price drop when the 3080 even got announced.
No,
and it didn't. If anything, it came out and it actually bumped up a little bit, and then it's held. It hasn't gone down. There hasn't even been a spike drop. It's just been consistently high. It's like, it's very confusing.
That's really strange. Yeah. So from my, of course, I'm not a market analyst or whatever, but from my perspective, it would be totally wise to drop the price now to get rid of the old stock, because later nobody wants to buy that anymore. Mm-hmm. And then, especially when the 3080s or the 30 series card, 30s series cards are available, then nobody wants to buy them, and you have to drop the price even more. So I don't know what that.
Is it 3080 Ti, or is the 3090 effectively the 3080 Ti?
No, I think there should be a 3080 Ti as well, or at least a 3080 with more VRAM, with like 20 gigabytes of VRAM, if I saw that right.
Okay. I heard that as well. Yep.
I don't know if that's called Ti then, but at least one with more memory.
Yeah, Ti is usually a few more CUDA cores, and usually clocked up a little higher, isn't it? So it gives that the Ti spec.
Yeah, but nevertheless, those cards are just not available for purchase. They have been sold out quicker than everybody thought. And what I've read on the net is they totally expected a high demand. But they still got overrun. They still got overrun. They knew, and they had in stock many cards, more than with the launch of the 20s series card, I guess. But they still got overrun. So they totally didn't expect that high demand. And that's interesting. I mean, how many cards have been sold then already?
I'm always very suspicious of this, because like every single online game that's ever released, every piece of new hardware that's ever released, they never quite meet demand. It really seems like artificial scarcity to me on some level, because it's like, Blizzard's been making WoW games for how long, and they still can't make a release of an expansion that doesn't collapse on release. It's like it comes out and they want everybody to like be excited. It gets negative press is still press, and still it draws more people and curious about it. And you look at like the hardware for like the 3080, every time a new card comes out, even when the card isn't really popular, there's always a shortage of it. Because I mean, obviously they don't want to overproduce it, because I mean that would be a loss of money for them. So they try and cut it as close as they can. But it seems like they always guess catastrophically wrong. It's like and they're professionals. It's like you can assume they're not dumb on some level.
Probably not, but still, I mean, it's so impressive how fast these cards are sold out, and you just can't get your hands on one. I mean, okay, there's eBay. But nobody.
See how the Quest 2 controller battery chambers go as far as that idea is concerned. Do we learn from our mistakes?
Okay.
They're selling for like twice as much, aren't they?
Stubborn people are there as well.
Like $1,200 or $1,300 for one on eBay.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about the engineering and the battery chamber and the controllers in relation to, predicting sales numbers incorrectly.
That's really crazy. But still, I totally want to have one of those cards because I skipped, at least for the desktop, I skipped the 20s series. And I'm still on the Pascal, the 1000 series cards on my desktop. And I realized with the 1070 I have right now, VR is possible, at least with the HTC Vive. But with the Index, I'm getting performance issues here and there. It's not too bad. It's still playable. But as I upgraded at least my notebook by then, because there I'm mostly using for VR streaming with the Index. There I wanted to have the performance, and there I went with the 2080. And so the upgrade in my desktop, that's totally worth it by then. And
starting to push 144 on a 1070,
for example,
144 hertz.
That's probably not working with the 1070.
Yeah.
So the performance, I mean, the Pascal cards have been very, very good when they released. And the leap from the 1000 series to the 3000 series, that's a giant one. So I'm looking forward to get one of those, but it's tricky. How about you? Do you want to get one of those 3000 cards as well? Do you plan to upgrade? Cypher?
Well, I'm just lucky to have a 2080 right now.
Oh, okay. And then the upgrade is not really needed.
I wasn't actually going to upgrade until the 3000 series, but I had an opportunity with this current 2080 that I'm running on, and I'd love to be able to upgrade to a 3000 series card. Honestly, the features on them and just the performance increase from even the 2000 series it's just mind blowing. So yes, I'd like to, but it's currently not feasible in my budget.
Yeah, okay, budget is a different thing as well. And availability, of course. But it's like, I plan to upgrade, or no, I will stick with my card and skip the 3000 series generation even. Njna, how about you? You also upgraded to a 2080 recently? Or what did you say? Or was it just...
I have a 2080 Ti from about a little over a year and a half ago.
When I think it's not worth the upgrade yet. Maybe it is. I mean, you are doing different things in VR than we do, right?
Very true.
Yeah. So it's like I probably will upgrade mine because I need the horsepower for all the what's it called? All the extra rendering stuff. Yeah. Segue.
Yeah, that was come on, that was a good one.
I'm trying to raise money through donations, and I'm going to give away my my 2080 Ti, which I have. It's customized. It's got like a custom backplate on it with my machine name and some art on it and stuff. And so if I raise money to buy the 3080, I'm going to give away on my stream the 2080 Ti to just a random person.
Oh, that's awesome.
Drawing, so.
Ooh, okay.
Custom.
So twitch.tv/NinaGrims.here. That's where probably that giveaway will happen.
Plug number 3.
But what do you need that horsepower for? What are you doing special in VR that we currently are not doing?
It's the bunny ears. Do you know CPU and GPU horsepower takes?
I see.
I mean, look at that. They're almost dynamic. There's reflections in the glasses. This stuff isn't easy. It's like,
I see. Yeah.
My 2080 Ti is at 96% right now, just doing the reflections in these glasses. This is ray tracing. This is RTX.
Wow.
Yeah. Real-time reflections off real glasses.
Mm-hmm. No, I need it mostly for doing avatar stuff because it's like most of my work is on my VR work is in avatar work. And so having to do the game rendering at 120 hertz across the headset, plus rendering the viewport from Live, and then on top of that doing all the work for rendering the avatar and the materials on the avatar. And a lot of the avatars, like especially my avatars, have a lot of hair physics and what's it called? I don't know. Yeah, cloth. That's right. Yeah, the newest one I have with the long cardigan on it. I can actually hear my computer when I put that avatar on. I can hear the fans on my computer go in the background every time I put it on.
Plane starting.
Yeah, exactly.
We're ready for lift off.
But yeah, so the more horsepower I get. Right now, I think my CPU is sort of my bottleneck. So it's like I still have a 7700K that I'm running in it, but it's overclocked to 5 gigahertz. But I'm pegged at between 95 and 100% all the time when I'm in VR. When I'm streaming. So it's like, and that even with moving I finally went to a 2 machine build here the other day, and I got the stream machines on a separate machine, and it's been working pretty well. And when I press start stream on the right machine is the right key there. Because
Good one.
I pressed the wrong one. I pressed the wrong one the other day and it streamed for an hour with just no overlays, just me on the screen.
So then, quiet. Everybody was enjoying
so
just
serene
the
and
view.
beautiful.
Yeah.
At least you didn't hit go live and then realize half an hour later that you didn't actually hit go live.
Oh,
oops.
It's like, why is no one talking?
Yeah, just to give some context here. For the non-insiders. So Njna is playing with an avatar, and that avatar in VR, and using the Lift software to render a third-person view with that avatar, because the avatar is rendered through Lift, shown in the game though. And that's pretty portable, if I'm correct. So with that Lift avatar, you can play in any game, and showing your avatar in any game that has a third-person or Live integration, Live SDK integration.
As long as Live integrates it, I can. As long as if you can do mixed reality, I can do avatar. And so the key I've had difficulties with is also because the avatar formats are different. Like Live uses a VRM avatar format, and Beat Saber uses .avatar, but I use instead of using Beat Saber's built-in one. But in VR chat, where I do a lot of my dancing, they have their own avatar format. And so every time I want to make a change to an avatar or get a new avatar or anything like that, I have to hire multiple people to do work for me, because it's like a lot of Blender work and a lot of Unity work. Just to like having a VR chat avatar, I have to get it converted to VRM, and it uses a completely different system of dynamic bones. So like the hair and the cloth work in VR chat is done with dynamic bones. In what's it called? In VRM mode, it's done with spring bones. And so they're not just directly transferable. So you can run a conversion tool to convert from VR chat to VRM. But then once you get there, it still takes a ton of manual work to lay out like all the bones in the hair, the cloth, and all that kind of stuff, but the textures across, because Live only supports certain shaders. And it's like there's, so when they announced new avatars for Beat Saber, I wasn't too excited. I'm like, oh yay, a third set of avatars to maintain it.
I have the best avatar available already.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Hair has bones. I learned something today.
Yes, it does. Very thin little bones. Look, I mean, so you can see it. Watch bones. See.
Oh yeah.
But bones?
It just float away. It float away otherwise.
Oh, nice. But also there's something else that's special about your avatar, because of if you see other people streaming an avatar, they are acting a little bit strange, but your avatar is acting pretty natural.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I've been sort of obsessive with tracker points. And Steam currently supports 13 tracker points, and I am up to 11 now. And so I have trackers on each of my feet, and trackers on my knees, and then one on my booty, and two on my elbows, and then my hands are my normal HMD trackers, and my headset. And then the most recent one I added, there's one I wear here, and so that allows me to like do upper body rotation separate from my hips. The other
you mean on your chest? One on your chest.
I wear one right here.
Yeah, it's just for the only audio listeners. If you say they don't see. That's why.
Sorry.
I know.
And then the last two that I have to get, I'm not sure if I'm going to get them yet, because it's like I see the value in them, but I'm not sure of a way to wear them comfortably without wearing a full body suit. Is there shoulder? You can get Steam supports shoulder trackers, which will let you do like shoulder roll movements, which are really hard to do otherwise. And so I'd like to get that, but it's like I don't really know how to wear them. I'd have to, it's even just wearing the chest one, right? I've got so much, it takes me like 35 minutes to get ready to stream right now as it is. Between, I like built custom mount things for my feet the other day, where it's like a compression sock, and then the track strap with the mount on it, and then another compression sock over that with the bolt from the strap punched through that, so it holds it in place on my foot really stably. And those cut the blood off to my lower feet a lot of times when I'm dancing. So it's like a lot of times, I have to stop and relax a little bit and stretch my toes, because my toes start getting tingly because there's like no blood in them when I'm dancing. So it's like I have to work that out. And then the knee ones, I built knee straps out of, those shoulder things, or you wear when you have an iPhone. So when you go jogging and you wear it on your like by your bicep.
Yeah.
I bought 2 of those, and they fit around just behind my knee and my about upper calf. And I took those and I put in where the phone would normally go. I took a old sock and took a piece of a sock and stuck that in there, and then punched the photo screw through from the back of it and mount the tracker against that. So it's got the padding of the sock in there and that. And I take the strap and with the Velcro and put that around my knee. That's how I do my knee straps, because they don't really sell. You can't really buy knee straps. There aren't really practical sized ones to do that. And for my belt now, my waist one, I'm using an old knockoff off-white belt that my son had that we got for like $10 on some trip somewhere, some tourist place. And that works really well because it's like the off-white belt style is sort of like a cargo strap. So it's got like when you put the strap in, it's got like a little metal teeth with a spring, and as you pull it, it tightens. So it's almost like a zip strip, but you can take it on and off. Mm-hmm. And so I have that, but that also has to be so tight that a lot of times when I'm dancing, it's like I end up with most nights after I'm done, I have bruising on my hips from the strap being tight against my pelvis bones because I have to put it tight enough so the tracker doesn't bounce. But Spirit Chunker is actually building me a whole harness with battery packs in it and stuff that I'm going to be able to wear. And so he's building me this harness set, and it's going to have battery packs in the back so I can run wires to all the trackers so you don't have to, because right now they last about 4 hours. And except my butt one I have a battery on the strap with. And so, yeah. And it takes a long time. It takes about 30 to 35 minutes to get all set up and then do the calibration. And every time I have to reset the calibration because the calibration is dependent on the rotation of the trackers, which is challenging. And so I wear them on the same place in my body all the time. But if you bump them at all, they rotate even a couple degrees, it's enough to like throw the whole avatar out of whack. And so every time I go and I have to like manually tweak the calibration. And so it takes, a couple minutes for that. And I don't know, it's fun. It's worth it. It's just, it's a lot of work.
I thought my setup would be tricky, but that's outperforming mine by a lot.
That's a lot of extra work for some pretty good.
But I'm really pleased with how it looks when done. It's like and lets me do stuff I want to do. That I mean,
totally worth it.
Self-esteem issues aside, it's like I would never dance like I do without my avatar, and it lets me be who I feel I really am with my avatar, and it's like I have a good time with it, and it's like I can just feel like I'm more open and just just be goofy and silly and stuff and not be self-conscious. So it's like,
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But
yeah, I mean, like it really looks great. Those animations. I mean, the avatar looks great. Of course, it's attractive, so to speak, and the movement there. That's. I mean, when you have a look at the other avatars, even though some of them do have, I think the first thing people mostly have is a hip tracker. That makes it already a little bit.
Hip is very typical.
Yeah, and that makes it look already a little bit more natural. But you can still realize, okay, that those are mostly calculated movements there, especially between the junctions and stuff.
Yeah, the inverse kinematics on the elbows and knees they're okay, but you can tell when you start to, like for playing Beat Saber, like a lot of times when I play Beat Saber or play Synth Fighters, I don't wear my elbow and knee trackers because you're not really doing a lot of moves that the inverse kinematics can, not pick up okay. But typically when I'm dancing, I wear more trackers because there's a lot of subtle movements that you want to do when you're doing like, performance movement stuff. That the inverse kinematic, like if I want to put like this, like if I want to put my elbow up in the air and do this kind of move, inverse kinematics can't do that. Because what it'll do is it'll see my hand, it'll assume my elbow is always down.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to get your elbow to go up in inverse kinematics unless you put your hand in by your chest, because then it sort of brings the elbow up just naturally. So it's like you have to learn what the every system's inverse kinematics are different too. Like synth riders versus VR chats are different. So over time, I've learned where I have to put my hands. Like VR chat only supports 5. When I dance in there's only 5 trackers because that's my waist and my feet. But their inverse kinematics is really good. And over time, I've learned that, if I put my hand in a certain place, I can get my elbow to go a certain place. If I put my foot in a certain place with a certain rotation, I can make my knee bend in a certain direction. And so I sort of have to change my dancing to fake for the inverse kinematics simulating real trackers. But
so other people like try to act naturally, but in VR you try to do the opposite. You have to act like non-natural to make your avatar look natural. So that's that's a little bit crazy. So you mentioned that SteamVR is supporting 13 tracking points, and I think 3 of them are used by 2 controllers, 1 headset, and then you're wearing 10 of those trackers?
Yep.
That's quite a lot. So how does that technically work? How are they attached? I mean, because I think each tracker does have to have its own receiver.
Dongle. Yep. Each tracker. Well, the hands go to the headset, and they have like a really high bandwidth Bluetooth connection.
Yeah.
So they're by far the most responsive of all the trackers. And then the rest of them, each one of them comes with a dongle and a USB cable and a little tray thing it's supposed to sit in. And they always say in the instruction. Yeah, like it's like a 1.5 meter extension cord. So you're supposed to, and they always say in the instructions, and I never really paid attention, is you're supposed to keep the dongles away from each other. They say to keep them spread. That's why they give you those little stands to put them in, is so you can spread them out. And so you see a lot of people online have a lot of problems with they do, especially when they go even just having butt and foot trackers. They'll put all 3 dongles like in a hub. And then they'll see that their tracking is like intermittent. Once in a while, you'll see butt drift, or you'll see foot drift, or things like that happen a lot. And you see a lot of people when they're streaming, you'll see that happen. And that's because their dongles are too close together. So over time, I found out after I got this tool, it's like a Bluetooth cloud scanner, and it lets me see a visual representation of the Bluetooth cloud in my room. So I can see the broadcast range of every Bluetooth device, and it gives like a visual representation on screen looking to our augmented reality. I can see the Bluetooth cloud and how dense the cloud is around that area, how much traffic there is in there. And so as I move through the cloud, so what I do is I walk around my room like this and just like an idiot walk around like this, and it builds a Bluetooth cloud in my room.
Mm-hmm.
And so
for that, or
it's proprietary stuff I had to pay money for.
Okay.
It's actually not even released yet. But anyways, I'll talk about it generally. What I learned from doing that is that the Bluetooth, and what it does, if the cloud is too dense, the cloud turns a bright pink, because that means there's collisions and there's what's it called, rebroadcasting of packets in that cloud. And I found out that I eventually had 7 trackers or 7 dongles in a 7-port hub, and that cloud was such a bright pink, and it was I was losing 60% of my data. Ooh. So they were only running at 40% data. So what I did is I bought 2 meter extension cables for USB cables, and I put on the front side of my desk here, on the whole front of my desk, underneath on the front edge of my desk, I took duct tape, and I have all my dongles taped along the front edge of my desk, all spread apart. Each one of them is this far apart across the whole front of the desk. And so right now on the underside front edge of my desk, every about probably this far, I can see the front edge of one of the Steam dongles all across the front there, and that improved my tracking 1,000%. I mean, that was the single biggest. I mean, and they're all running on a single USB 3.1 port on a hub. So I mean, it does. It's like you always see people talking about they have to buy USB cards and have to buy this. It's like it's not necessary. What the key I found was spacing of the dongles is the single most important thing you can do to improve your tracking.
Interesting.
How about orientation of the dongles? Because from what I kind of know about antenna and radio stuff is, if you have them in different directions, does that have an issue? Did you try that, or is it just the distance?
The stands they give you for them look like this.
Yeah, I know. This is the same that they give you for the Steam controller.
Oh, yeah, Steam controller. Yep, exactly.
That's the same.
And I found with the tool, is that the majority of the signal comes out the blue part, which is odd, because I always found it weird they give you because it's L orientation where it's sticking up like this. You're effectively just broadcasting it at the ceiling. I mean, some of it does come out the sides, but there's much more traffic coming out the blue area of the dongle
on the top.
And so I don't know if that's just inaccuracy of my tool, or if it's just a design issue. But like on my desk right now, I have them all lined up like this, so the blue is facing out from the front of my desk. So they're all just basically plugged. If there was a USB hub on the front of my desk, they're all just plugged in like that, facing outwards. And that was the best way I found. So.
Okay, but still, just out of curiosity, does it help if you orientate them in different angles, even though they are facing all in the same direction? I mean, you can rotate them a little bit. Would that make an issue?
I haven't tried, because the way I have them just all flat right now, I'm getting 100%. I'm not having. There's no packet loss anymore.
Okay, then that's
I guess
perfect,
I haven't tried. I haven't tried to optimize more than that. There very well could be. In fact, I'm sure there is, because I remember when I had them in 2 separate hubs. If I space them out, like in a normal hub's about this, a half a meter or 30 centimeters long. If I put the dongles every other port on the hub, that was even much, much better than just having them side by side in the hub. And what I found there is that if I took the hub and I put the hub up on its end vertically, instead of having the hub go flat across the desk, if I put it up on its end vertically, that increased it even better. So there is some orientation difference that makes a difference in the antenna in the dongles. I didn't investigate down that route, because I was more trying to improve single dongle performance as opposed to trying to work out a way to cluster them.
Yeah. Okay. No. If you have now no packet loss anymore, it's already perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But that took 7 months to get to that point. Wow. I'm working on, of moving things around. I mean, you guys have seen, you saw on my streams, how often did my butt go drifting off somewhere and be like, oh, there goes my butt again. And my avatar be just sitting there, so you see my avatar's butt just go whoop, flap to the side of the screen. I was like, okay.
Well, that's quite bendy, I'd say.
And in all the documentation for all the Steam trackers and everything, they talk about white surfaces. You can't or mirrored surfaces. They always mention. But if you actually look at the tech specs for there's a tech spec document out there, like a white paper for the actual trackers. And in there, they specify you cannot have any white surfaces, any even slightly glossy white surfaces. And you can see this here behind me, my IKEA dresser, and everything in my room is like a white surface because, like, I shop at IKEA. So everything there is basically glossy white on some level, unless you buy like, the fancy colored ones. And so my first thought, I read that tech white paper. I'm like, I'm going to have to paint my entire room like flat black. This is ridiculous. I'm like, what am I going to do? And that was when I started going, I'm like, it can't be that. It cannot be the glossy white surfaces because I threw a blanket over my dresser. I came in here with like 10 blankets one day and just covered everything in like dark blue blankets. And it was still having problems. And like, okay, so it's not the glossy white surfaces. So if you read the white paper, it's not the glossy white surfaces. Don't paint your dressers.
Well, I wonder what data they got that actually pointed at glossy white surfaces.
I don't know. I'm guessing
radio signal. Like what?
Well, I think it must be the lighthouses. I'm guessing they think the lasers from the lighthouses are reflecting because the trackers also have the receptors for the lighthouses. Besides their Bluetooth connection, they also have the receptors for the lighthouse. What's it called? Tracking laser. And so between those two, I'm guessing they thought the lighthouses were bouncing off the white surfaces. But yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
It is always irritating when I move something around in my room, though. It's like I'll move something and then suddenly my tracking is a little bit off. I'm like, okay, I moved, and I have to remember back for like the last 12 hours. Okay, what did I put somewhere else in my room that's slightly reflective? It's like, and it's always the stupidest thing. It's like I think I found the other day it was like a glass bottle, and it had like a rum bottle, but it was sort of flat on one, so it was flat enough to be reflective because normally bottles are rum, but this one happened to be just flat enough, and I'd put it next to my computer where one of the lighthouses could see. And so it was just enough that when I stood in a certain part of the room when the lighthouses were trying to hit the trackers, they must have been hitting the bottom, reflecting off. So my right foot, I'd be saying my right foot would just start going. And I'm like, why is it doing this? I've not done anything
right now.
I know. And it's like, oh, that rum bottle from a day and a half ago that I left on the dresser, left on top of my computer over there was like causing the problem. So it's like, yeah, I have to keep my room really, I have a good mental map now of everything in my room. So it's like when I walk in and get ready to start the stream, that's part of the thing I do. I look around the room and say, okay, have I brought anything in here? Have I moved anything in the last 24 hours since I streamed last time? And I have to go around and put everything back where it was and stuff. So yeah.
Oh dear. Well, I just have seen that when I do not cover my window and my TV with the green screen, which I normally do when streaming in VR, and if people are here just to play VR, if I have guests to show some VR and I don't have that green screen up, the tracking goes pepega as well. So those reflections are pretty much an issue. And when I remember first when the HTC Vive came out and Steam was saying, yeah, we try to eliminate those reflections or like detecting those reflections and get them sorted out in software or stuff. And I thought that would have been done, but that's still an issue. So getting rid of those reflections, that's really important for having good tracking.
The problem I have is like if there's mirrors, like glass surfaces and mirrors are the biggest problem. Like my monitors have sort of that anti-glare reflection coating on them. So that seems to fix those. And the one window I do in my room, which is like over here, it's a really large window, but it's at such an oblique angle to the lighthouses. I think that it never reflects. It's because the lighthouses are sort of like here and here, and the window's actually flat on this surface. So I don't think there's ever enough reflection that it gets back to a lighthouse that it picks up a response from the window, luckily. So yeah, I can still have light in my room and not have to wall over it, which would be disappointing. But yeah.
Now, as I understand it, the tracking technology in those is actually the sensors are in the trackers, and it's just picking up where the lighthouses are. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yep.
As far as I understand,
calibration. That's what you do with the calibration.
Yeah, the lighthouses see where the trackers are, because the trackers, if you look at them, they have a bunch of little divots in them, and those are all. What is it?
It's inverted as far as I understood it. So like the lighthouses are just blasting the room with infrared at a certain frequency, and then in the trackers themselves, those little dots are actually helping or picking up where those light's coming from and triangulating it.
Yeah,
and the built-in. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's why the dongle traffic is so important, because that's actually what's sending back all the positional information. And so as soon as that Bluetooth connection drops or gets weak, that positional information, it starts guessing. And once it starts guessing, then you get drift.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's so much about the getting that to run on your computer at home. But there's also the other side, the software side. And from what I've heard, you have helped improving tracking and getting more points for the trackers. Was that correct?
With Liv, what's it called?
Liv?
That I was one. Yeah, with Liv, I was one of the first people that was using more than 5-point tracking, and so they had me do a lot of the testing for the early versions of the advanced calibration. And so I don't know if you've seen some of my streams. There's like you can see now in the calibration tool. It used to be that you just did a cheat or standard T pose. You stand up, put your hands out, and it tracks it. What they did with advanced calibration now, which is nice, is that you once you do your T pose, you'll see a version of your avatar standing there, and you can see all the trackers on your body, and they all have orbs. And you can actually move and rotate the orbs in 3D vectors, so it can match up where they are on your body. And then the non-vectored trackers, like your chest tracker and your knee trackers, because they aren't the same. They don't have the same rotational options that the elbows, chest, and knee are non-rotational trackers. So they basically just track where they are in space because they don't have to move like your hands do or your feet do. And so because they're between joints, the way they set it up is that it basically fills in a gap in the inverse kinematics. So instead of the inverse kinematics having to guess where the knee is, it uses that positional information for the knee to improve the inverse kinematics. So you're not actually getting, from what I can tell from looking at it, you're not actually getting true tracking of your knee. You're getting assisted inverse kinematics of your knee and your elbows. And so what you do is when you're positioning the orbs for the knee and elbow trackers, instead of getting like a 3D orb you put on the tracker, you get a blue orb that you stretch out a certain distance from the tracker, and that determines how much weight that tracker has in the calculation, is how I understand it. So if I want the knees to be really aggressively tracked, I put the orb right next to it, because then the knees will be all like, if I barely move my knees, you'll see my character's knees like snap in and out all over the place because it's like trying to hyper track it. So I usually keep the knee and the elbow trackers out like, probably a meter away from the avatar, because that like puts it just enough that the knee is being tracked, but it's not enough that it's actually making it be wonky, I guess. And so it was a learning process with Liv, because it's like we went through a lot of stuff trying to get, what's a good interface for it. I sent them videos on, what the issues were, kind of problems I was having, what kind of tracking issues there were, how I was having issues having to see, because like sometimes you, like your butt tracker, you can't see it. There's no way to see your butt tracker, especially when they render your avatar there. And so trying to grab onto the butt tracker in 3-dimensional space in VR and be able to rotate it and having an idea of what impact that's having on your avatar is sort of challenging interface wise. And so what they ended up doing was they show a render of your avatar side on to you, to your right, but a face on view of it here. The really confusing part is that the face on one is not mirrored. The one you're seeing on the right is mirrored, like you're looking in a mirror. And so for the longest time, I thought they'd had the knee trackers mixed up on the avatar, because I assumed the one I was adjusting it on was mirrored also. I assumed that, the one that was on this side was my left knee and the one that was on that side was my right knee. But it's not. The avatar is actually looking at, like you're looking through the avatar. So the right knee is actually like, I don't know how to explain. It's not, you're not looking in a mirror, you're looking at just a video representation of it, but not flipped, I guess is the best way to say it, which is really confusing because one is flipped and one's not. And anyway, it took me forever. I was reporting bugs and reporting that this isn't right, this isn't here, the tracking's not going right here. And finally it occurred to me, I'm like, oh, one's flipped and one's not. And they're like, no one ever told me that. I think we've spent weeks,
that's the best.
weeks debugging
Why
this.
did they do that though? Why
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
It's still like that. I have no idea why it's like that, but yeah, it's still like that.
Options, please.
Yeah, because when you're looking at it on the screen, the right, it says on the trackers when you grab them, it says right knee, but the right knee is on your left. When you're looking at it, it's on your left side, so it's obviously mirrored there. But the one you're looking at, the rendered one, isn't. And so you grab, and the way I finally figured out, was grabbing my elbow tracker and holding my elbow up like this, trying to watch what it was doing. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the avatar one with the other elbow was moving. I'm like, what the hell? And because you can't usually see it because it's outside, it's 90 degrees off you, so you can't usually see it on the HMV. I just happened to be looking at my elbow like this and trying to see the tracker orb at the same time so I could see all three things. And I noticed the wrong elbow movement. I'm like, oh my god, it's mirrored. And I felt so stupid. I'm like, oh my god, all this time it's been mirrored. It's like I've 50 bug reports and all kinds of stuff, and it's freaking mirrored. But yeah, so the system they've come up with is pretty good. There are better systems out there. There's a product called Neospr, which is sort of a competitor for VR chat. and they're at a stage where they're much more in the developer stage of it. So it's very technical still, and not, it's not very user friendly, I guess is the bluntest way to put it. But when you go in there and do calibration, they let you do up to 11-point calibration just with a T-pose. And so you don't have to do all that other tracking, and you don't have to have, like, VR chat right now only supports 5, but you go in there and the nice thing about Neos also is right now, like Steam VR requires you to specify what tracker is where. So I have to say that, the tracker I wear on my elbow is actually, I have to tell it, this is my left elbow tracker. And the problem with that is if the battery dies in this tracker, I can't just take my knee tracker if I don't want to use my knees anymore and put my knee tracker here without having to go in the Steam, into the configuration for the thing and tell it, okay, what was now my knee tracker is now my elbow tracker. Like VR chat and stuff like that will look at your T-pose and say, okay, on a human body, we see trackers at these rough locations. We're going to assume that the one that's right here is your left elbow tracker. You don't have to tell it manually, say it's my left elbow tracker. And Neos does that now. Neos VR does that with up to 11 point. So you can go stand in there, and when you do the standout, it'll see all the trackers on your body and say, okay, this is your chest tracker, these are your elbow trackers, these are your knee trackers, these are your foot trackers, and then I can change them around. Like if the batteries die on one, or if I want to use certain ones other days, I can just have a hip tracker and just elbow trackers, and I can use them interchangeably. I don't have to label, because right now all my dongles and all my trackers have stickers on them that say this is left bicep, this is right knee, this is left ankle. Because I have to keep track of them. If I switch them around, Steam's like, what the hell? I mean, it'll render my avatar with my, my right foot on my elbow, because they're statically assigned, which is such a bad design choice. It's such a bad design choice to do it that way. But yeah, so hopefully Steam will come around at some point and, realize that the trackers shouldn't have to be statically assigned. But I think they do that because it's easier for the software developers to not have to build their own calibration interface. You can say, okay, from Steam, it's then feeding information saying, okay, we have this tracker point, and we're telling you this tracker point is the left elbow.
Yeah.
So they don't have to build an interface then to sign and say, okay, we see the tracker points, and we're going to assign it a left elbow. They're saying, we've got left elbow data coming in. This is what we're going to do with it. So I think they were trying to help, maybe.
DM me about some of that stuff after the podcast. I've got an idea. We might be able to remedy some of that through Steam VR driver.
Yeah, because I know in Steam VR, if you look in the config file, there's a text file that I could edit on the fly, I guess, somehow, that shows okay, this tracker ID has been assigned to this joint position. Because if you look in the Vive, I don't know if you guys have ever looked in it, but there's a manage Vive tracker settings, and when you go in there, it shows all the trackers you have, and it lets you pick what body part they're hooked to. And that's the only reason I know they support 13 point, because there's shoulders are in there in the choices of the drop downs. And in fact, Steam VR just here recently, until I think 6 months ago, didn't support even knee and elbow trackers. That was why Live hadn't supported it yet, because they needed to wait, even though Neos did and stuff, because they were sort of doing their own thing. All the Live stuff had to wait for Steam to support it, even though Steam would recognize 10 trackers, you couldn't assign body parts to them. And because the way, like I was just talking about, they're sort of helping the developer out by saying, okay, this tracker is a left elbow. When that data came in to Live from Steam, they had no data about what that tracker was. There wasn't a choice to pick elbow. There was a choice to pick, gun or, desktop item or camera, but you couldn't pick left elbow or knee. And so there was no way for Live then to say, okay, this is a left elbow or knee. And so they had to wait for Steam to catch up with that. But
okay. That's interesting.
You guys can interrupt me. I talk a lot. You can.
No, that's really interesting to listen to. Because I mean, I do have a tracker, but I think that's still from the first generation, and I don't even know it's still working with Lighthouse 2.0. I think there have been a new version there are two versions of trackers.
Yeah, the
2018 and 2018, I think.
Yeah, the new ones have a blue. If you look at the power buttons, the power button on the new ones is blue, like a light baby blue. And the old ones isn't. I don't know what the old color is, but
yeah, I would have to look that. I don't know if they are interchangeable. So even though if I
don't know actually. I'm if I recall correctly, I think the 2.0 lighthouses need the new trackers, but the new trackers will work with the old lighthouses.
Indeed, right. Yeah, that's how it works. If you still have. That was when the index came out, there was an offer to just get the index without anything else. So as an upgrade for your existing equipment, then you can just exchange the HMD itself, but keep all the controllers, the trackers, and the lighthouses, and continue using that. So that's why the new sensors are working with the old lighthouse stations, but as soon as you have the new lighthouses, you will have to have new trackers for everything. And
as I understand it, the Lighthouse 2.0 is like 10 times the sweep frequency than Lighthouse 1.0, something like that.
Bigger cover space too. They said, I think it is.
Yeah. Also, I think they have wider range, etc. And yeah, there's more stuff to it, I think.
They also sadly have moving parts that make noise when you hear them if you don't sleep them. Because like I have to use the Bluetooth sleep thing on them, because otherwise you can hear this like.
Oh yeah, you can hear the gyro
really
motors.
But you can just the gyro motor spinning all the time. It's just enough to be just the upper range of hearing. And it's like, especially with 4 of them around me, it's like, okay, it's like that's a little much. It's like,
yeah, I mean that was the nice thing with the Lighthouse 1.0 track Lighthouse base stations, because they turned off after a while, or when you turned off SteamVR. That doesn't happen with the Lighthouse 2.0, and at the moment,
they do. It's buggy. If you're in the beta,
okay, that's why, because it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, if you're in the beta, they have a Bluetooth power go to sleep mode. And so what it do is they take them from spinning mode down to like a blue, where the light's blue, and so they're still powered on, but the gyros are off. Oh, okay. So they're like in a Bluetooth sleep mode, but I think that's only in the beta at this point.
Yeah, I am on the beta though, but it still doesn't happen for me. But that's not an issue, because I have one of the...
you have to change the checkbox.
Oh, maybe
you have to go into Bluetooth settings and Bluetooth base station settings, and there's one to allow Bluetooth sleep mode.
Okay, then I will have to recheck that. At the moment, I have a remote for the power outlet where one lighthouse is attached to, so I switch that off, and the other one on the other side is where I am attaching the green screen to. And when I am attaching that, I put the power in, and when I'm cleaning that up, I'm pulling the power out. So that's not that of an issue. But you're right. You can hear that high-pitched noise, and if everything is quiet, that's a little bit annoying.
It's just enough.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear that at all.
CV1 cameras, yay, just one. They don't make any sounds at all.
Yeah, but when playing in VR, you don't hear them at all. If there's any other noise, it's you don't hear them.
Yeah, honestly, even the fans on my computer are enough to mask it when I'm in here if they're on.
Okay.
The only time I ever hear is when my computer's powered down and it's actually silent in the room. But then it's just enough then to like, after a minute or two, you're like, what is that noise? And you realize it's like the gyro spinning.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I need to check that again. I haven't checked that in a while, if that's new in the beta.
Yeah, you got added, I think.
Check that,
4 or 5 months ago, I think is when
I moved then that's pretty new. I haven't had a look at the settings for quite a while now.
But it used to be, the problem with it was it used to be very buggy. And so when you pick the close Steam VR, it always comes up and says sleeping Bluetooth. It says sleeping base stations, and a lot of the times it would miss one. Like if you had like if there was 4 of them, it'll sleep 2 of them and leaves 2 awake. And because there's no command line, I'm sure there's some way to do it, but there's no way to just say, okay, just scan the Bluetooth frequency and sleep the freaking base stations. You've got to start Steam VR all the way back up. So it powers all the base stations back up, and then you get to pull the slot machine again and shut them down. It's like, and this time I got 3 out of 4. Power it back up, shut it down. It's like this time I got 2 this time. It's like power it up, shut it down. It's like 4, yeah, I go to leave. But yeah.
You should have played in the lottery first, because now you used up all your luck for getting all the power down.
And they all shut down the first time. I'm like, oh my god, I should go buy something. But they improved it drastically in the last the last 2 releases of the beta that come out. It's shut down consistently, all of them, all the time. So whatever they finally worked it out, so they all shut down. So
that's cool. I need to recheck that.
Yeah, all the tech issues that people have to deal with in virtual reality.
There's so much bizarre stuff.
Streaming.
No stream without technical issues, and with VR, that's even more true.
It's easy as long as you know this caveat and this caveat and this caveat. And this does this if you do this by accident, and then this happens.
You've been to these 10 links and read all this documentation, right? You're not just winging this, are you?
I mean, the problem is though, if you find a certain routine when you start your stream, so you start the PC, then you start Steam, for example, Steam VR. No, wait. First you plug in your HMD, then you start Steam then you plug in your HMD, then you start the base station, then you start Steam VR. Then I plug in my camera. Then I change the audio outputs, because when SteamVR is, at least for me on Linux, when SteamVR is running, that audio device for output is coming available. It's not available before on the HDMI output, so I have to change that.
Which is it?
And then I start the game. But if there is also for OBS, I have to disable autofocus. But that I can do after I started everything first and OBS last, and then OBS is actually using the camera. So then I turn off autofocus. And if I do anything of that, because I've done that for a long time, I did it the first time like this, and it worked out, and I did it every time since then. But if there's an issue, and you change the order of anything, something strange will happen. For example, when you plug in the camera first, before starting the computer, it will get a different USB port or device or assignment or something. Then OBS is not picking it up. Or it switches automatically to the microphone of the camera if you do any of those in the wrong direction. There are so many things to take care about. And if you do one of them out of order, it can mess up everything. But if you have one working setup...
I had the problem for the longest time where I had to, I couldn't figure out why my hand trackers, every once in a while, like one of them would be like super unresponsive. I mean, it would be there, but it'd be like lagging it, it'd be whatever. And it turned out I have to, when my HMD comes on, I have to power my hand controllers on first before I turn any of my trackers on. Because otherwise, sometimes, even though they're paired, sometimes I guess the ones in the HMD must be like pairless. They must just connect to whatever device works with them. Because if I turn one of my body trackers on before my hand controllers on, my body tracker will take one of those two ports, one of those two available connection points in the headset, which are the high performance ones. And then when I turn on my hand controllers, it'll just fail over to one of the other dongles. And if it connects on one of those dongles, the performance on the dongles is about like 50% of what the HMD Bluetooth bandwidth is. And so suddenly you see, like, when you move your hand, it'll be like just a tiny bit behind, but it's enough that you can really feel it. It's like, it just feels off. Weird. And that took me forever to figure out that I had to turn the controllers on first before I turned the trackers on. But yeah, it's all kinds of it's just learning stuff. It took it gets better every time.
Yeah.
Like I found out the other day, I can't run stream avatars once I started VR. A lot of times I'll start VR and then run things, but I have like stream avatars on my stream, the little guys that walk around. You can't, for some reason, that game, when you try to run it, because it thinks it's a VR game. If I start it after my VR system stuff, it puts me in this weird, which I've never seen in Steam before. It's like this Steam theater mode, and it lets you play flat screen games in VR. And so when you go, if you start streaming avatars up, it says, "Oh, you're in VR mode. Let's just put it on screen." I'm like, no, I'm just starting you so you run in the background, just so you put the little guys on my screen. I don't need to see an interface. It's like, so I have to start that manually before I start my VR system up. Otherwise, it screws the whole process up. So it's like, it is.
I got just a link here, post in chat, and I will paste that on the Discord real quick from Kizek, who said there is a script that can help for powering down the Lighthouse trackers.
I figured there had to be something out there.
Awesome,
but I'll take it.
It's
Thank you.
Mostly for Linux, but it says might work on Windows too. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Probably similar commands, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Let's drink a batch.
So I post that on the Discord podcast chat.
Nice. Thank you.
And maybe it will fix all those issues.
It just be nice to turn them off.
And as you are, especially you, Njna, are using an avatar, you don't have to have set up a mixed reality setup like other people have to, where you have to. Of course, you have to calibrate
you see my green screen on my stream. My green room with my avatar. It's like, come on. All that lighting, and I had to paint that whole room green.
I saw that. And you are a bunny in real life as well. So that's so impressive. I thought VR was already good, but the real life camera was even better. But nevertheless, it's a little bit different for people using a green screen and the normal webcam to get that shown. And that's the segue to the next part that's on the bullet point list. We have now, with the RTX cards, they announced something new. We have the AI-controlled filtering stuff for voice already, which is called RTX Voice. But they have something for video as well. So that's called Nvidia Broadcast. And with that, you can have...
Right now.
Yeah, with that, you can have a green screen-like setup, actually, without having a green screen. So, Njna, I think that you won't have to use that. But Cypher Ryan tried that already, and maybe he can talk about that a little bit. So, I mean, maybe first explain what it does in general, but yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Well, it started off with RTX Voice Beta. They were using that as kind of a test to see what the tensor cores were capable of and processing stuff in real time. And Nvidia Broadcast combines RTX Voice as well as Nvidia Broadcast tools, which were in beta up until like a week ago. And you had to request access to them, but it had these cool features like automatic background removal, background replacement, and this really, really nice background blur effect. So if you happen to be watching the podcast video right now, or the vodcast, if you will, if I turn up the blur strength, you can see the background is much blurrier now, and then I can turn it back down, and it's way sharper. And it's doing that all through artificial intelligence, real-time analysis of the image that's coming through my webcam. So I can pick a camera, and then it'll just run effects on it, or I can pick the microphone, for example, and noise removal. This I can actually show you in real time because I have a fan. So if I turn off the noise removal, you can probably hear a little bit more noise now. I just turned it off. Can you hear any more ambient sound through the room?
It was there shortly, but not anymore.
Okay, very briefly. If I turn on this fan,
we can hear your chair.
It's probably very loud.
Okay, yeah, we hear that.
As soon as I turn on noise removal, now noise removal. If I turn it up, I'm sticking my face in the fan, and if I'm talking like this, it's probably a little bit muddled, but you can tell that it's taking out all the fan noise entirely.
It's really fun, actually.
It's
Minicorn likes to stick his head into the. I mean, there's a cage before that as well. But when you're talking into the airflow, your voice is getting a little bit alternated. And he likes to do that. And that was something that looked like Minicorn would do it.
That was impressive how it removed the fan noise though when you're facing.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, it was right in it, and there's if you were talking on the phone, no one would be able to understand what you were saying unless that was all artificially filtered out. And then also with the camera effects, a little bit more difficult to show on the podcast, of course. But we've got a few effects like auto frame, which will automatically just track your face in real time within the frame of the camera, and it's really actually very fast. If you're looking at the view, it's the camera's tracking my face in real time, and then we got the black background replacement. So suddenly I'm in the synth writer's apartment, and it's a little bit sketchy.
I've seen that. If there is, they can like detect the shape of your body, but as soon as you're creating a loophole or so, then what's inside, they have issues getting that filtered out. That's true, but it works pretty well.
It's not a perfect filter. It doesn't perfectly cut your body out from the background, but yeah, it does have some green background artifacting that happens.
Seeing the gap between your headphones, like between your head and the headphones there, it's actually seeing most of the, I mean, it's doing a little bit of like
sometimes it works
right there.
Sometimes
it's right there.
I mean, for real time, and especially being a first generation of,
that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And then just straight up background removal, which is the same thing, but with no image behind it instead.
Especially, I mean, of course, it will have a hard time if your background is kind of matching the foreground. So if you have a dark background and then a dark chair, of course, then it will have some issues. Yeah. But if the contrast is high enough, it's more easy for the software.
Is it using like the Windows Hello like laser stuff for 3-dimensional analysis, or is that just video analysis? So, I mean, if you're wearing a green shirt, can it pick you out in a green shirt? Will it pick you up from the green background?
Yeah, I believe it will. It's all AI driven, so it's using some kind of models that it was already fed, like, the shape of someone's face and like silhouettes and what a person is supposed to look like on a background. And then it's analyzing the image and trying to approximate that the best it can figure out, and then spit out an image that it thinks is, hey, this is what you want. Like,
it'd be fun to keep trying to mess it up, see where the threshold is on it. It's
right,
like, oh yeah,
right.
If I'm wearing glasses, it goes away.
Right. So we should do an experiment with that. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. Be a fun video. Be a fun video actually to make. It's like, see what's the threshold of RTX broadcast. It's like, well, if I'm wearing a green shirt, it's fine. If I'm wearing a green hat, it's fine. As long as I put green sunglasses on, it's like gone. It's disappear.
I'll try it in my my green morph suit with just with just my headset on with googly eyes, and see if it picks up the googly eyes.
That'd be cool. That'd be super impressive if it does.
I would too.
Wow, that's pretty cool. New technologies, new toys to play around with.
One last little bit about RTX broadcast also. Like, if you want to clean up any audio, it's really useful for that as well. So not only the real-time stuff, but you could feasibly take like a really rough audio file you have that you want to clean up in Audacity, for example, and you could run that through Nvidia Broadcaster's output back in through Audacity and clean it up with the RTX system. So it's actually doing real-time offline analysis of whatever audio that you feed it. Or kind of conversely, also, if you're listening to whatever, you can set that as your output audio device. So any audio that you're hearing on your PC could also be filtered by the RTX.
I have a couple of friends I play with that notoriously leave their open mics on, but they have like crap in the background running all the time. I always use it for that all the time, and it makes them 1,000 times better to listen to because it gets rid of all that crap noise and you can just hear them talking.
Yeah, the only downside is you can't like pick individual feeds to do that. And it's like
for your whole audio feed.
No,
that's really cool.
I'm excited to see what else we see come out of some of the NVIDIA assistive technologies.
Yeah, they're bringing up some new cool stuff there, so that RTX voice is not that old either, and that broadcast is pretty new. And the new cards are getting more and more powerful, as we've seen. So there's more AI coming to your local PC, though.
Don't get me wrong; it's not flawless. It's
of course
flawless.
But it's learning.
Really good.
It's still learning. I mean, you have to train those AIs, right?
What I really like with the RTX voice, I wish it would leave. The one thing I've noticed is that even if your room's not noisy, it still puts a little bit of a synthetic effect in it. And I wish it would be smart enough to realize that there isn't any noise and just pass through the real audio, because it seems like it's always processing it. And so a lot of times I don't use it. If my room's pretty quiet, I turn it off.
It depends on how high that slider is too, because it can get pretty aggressive. Yeah, if the slider's all the way up, it'll aggressively try to basically change all the audio. But I bring it down around like 70% or so it's not doing complete removal.
Maybe I'll fix it then. I haven't tried that too much, but I usually like at 90 or something like that.
And I was having issues with it when I had it pegged all the way. Once in a while, I'd hop on Discord, and then it would just decide that whatever it was that I was talking about at the time was just supposed to be really noisy. It just
didn't like his Zypher. It's like, God, that's just noise. Off.
Yeah. Well, and it was like that's all that would come through too, just really loud noise. And so people would be like, "Oh, what's going on?" I'm like, "What?" And every time I'd say "what," it would just be like,
yeah, it had some issues. We heard that, I think, when Crane was streaming once, RTX was going totally crazy.
Yeah, once in a while it derps out a little bit.
Yeah. So that was audible on stream, and that's really like, what's going on there? But yeah, well, it's still learning. It's an AI. It's young. It has to learn. We have to train it well. That's how it goes. Right on. So from the topics, I think we are through for this podcast. Do you have anything else to add, or a new topic that you want to talk about right now? Njna?
I think so. I'm good. It was fun. No,
Zypher?
I'm good.
I think we pretty much covered what
you wanted to. So
with some cool stuff that Njna's doing.
For those who have been watching this live, also on Twitch, we have an overlay now working, thanks to Tancho, who did this. And there you can even click on our images and follow us individually. And that's something that's only for the live show here right now. That's not available, of course, later. But the The links should be later in the vodcast description. So if you want to follow Njna on and see how that avatar looks in action with that 10-point tracking or 13-point tracking, check out her channel. It's Njna_Grimstottir on Twitch. And I think the same, no, without the underscore, it's on Twitter. And check out Scythe.
Not Ninja.
She's a really good dancer, by the way.
Not a ninja, but a bunny. You can also you can also check out Cypher Orion on Twitch and Discord. I think it's the same handle. And if you want to follow me, it's Corbin78 on all those platforms. But also,
Cypher does the best programming streams.
There are not that many though. Do more.
You always joke around about it. I love your programming.
Yeah, do more. More development streams. Also, don't forget to chime in on our FeVR Discord, discord.gg/FeVR, FeVR. And we have monthly giveaways going on. For example, where you can get one of these nice things, which is a Mod Mic Wireless, which Cypher and I am using here right now for the VOD podcast. And we have a Twitch channel. That's the Team FeVR. Check out all those links. Chime in on all those channels and social media. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And see you in 2 weeks again. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye.